Hey guys, well it's been absolutely ages since I got stuck into a decent model. I bought this on eBay, which arrived in the post today. It's the 1:350 scale Revell amphibious transport dock, the USS New York LPD-21. It's the Platinum edition, so got lots of photo etch and added bits and pieces, including these aircraft, and we've got some amphibious attack vehicles as well, so it's forward to get stuck into that. The USS New York has famously got a few tons worth of steel from the World Trade Center when it collapsed in 2001 embedded into the bow of the ship, so it's quite important for New Yorkers and indeed the rest of the US Navy. So let's crack the lid and see what's inside. This is a brand spanking new kit, which is really good, so it's untouched by human hand, as it were. Let's see what's inside. Very sturdy box. Nice. So we have an instruction manual and colour call out. Quite an interesting design. So this is the modern ship, obviously, with the sonar bow, and then we've got a flight deck, and also the web deck as well for the various water-based craft. This looks like some of the landing vehicles, this is like water transport. Nameplate and other whole bits and pieces. This looks like the landing deck for the aircraft. Not sure they are, possibly hull braces. Sorted small pieces for the superstructure. Landing craft, possibly hovercraft by the looks of it. Superstructure pieces. This looks like the sides of the web deck. Two little launch craft there. Really good moulding wise. Bow plate. Possibly part of the hangar deck. Smokestacks and parts of the superstructure. It's all sealed up, but it's like very small pieces, more small pieces, hovercraft pieces. Amphibious attack craft, possibly bits of the hull. No idea what they are. And a whole wealth of aircraft tucked away. And then in a small little box here we've got some nice photo etch pieces, railings and doors, etc. Anchor chain, a few more bits and pieces of photo etch, mostly railings, possibly some antenna structures. On to the main bits and pieces, we've got the display base itself, and then this looks like part of the hull. And I wanted to give you a bit of a size comparison between the New Jersey and the New York. So they're both in 1:350 scale. As you can see, the New Jersey is quite a bit longer than the New York, but that's not entirely surprising. It's an entirely different style of warship. It's a lot taller, obviously, the New York, but we can have a look at that. So let's spin these bad boys around and you can see how they look front on. So here we are, this is bow on. The New York goes up to approximately just past the first turret of the New Jersey, so it's roughly, just over 3/4 the length. But still going to be a very, very impressive kit when it's all put together. I'm really looking forward to getting stuck into this. So I wanted to give a bit of a progress update on the USS New York. We started off with building the various aircraft. These are marine aircraft, so we've got Ospreys, we've got a couple of Super Stallions, we've got a Cobra, a Seahawk, another Osprey with its wings folded, and this is a Sea Knight, or otherwise known as Chinook. One of these I'm going to end up using on the New Jersey, possibly this one. Added to it with a couple of bits of styrene rod for the various fuel tanks. Not sure how well it's going to come up on camera. But there's a bit of photo etch here, a bit of brass rod to show up the struts. So yeah, it's all coming together, looking really, really good. We need to get them all painted up, obviously, but yeah, coming along really nicely. Up next, we've got a couple of the support craft. We've got two LCACs, an LCU, and a couple of the AAV-7 amphibious attack craft. So these are the hovercraft, the LLAC. Quite a few pieces involved in making this, I have to say. But no, it's pretty impressive little kit on its own right. So we're going to load this up with some more tanks. This is the LCU. This is a more sort of traditional boat as opposed to a hovercraft. Again, quite a few pieces involved in this. And then here is one of the kit supplied AAV-7s. Probably quite familiar with these if you've any idea what the Marines do. But yeah, it's really a little, really impressive little piece actually. So I think from a size point of view, the LCACs can only really hold one M1 Abrams tank because it weighs 60 odd tons, whereas the smaller vehicles don't weigh obviously quite as much, so you can have more of those on one piece. I'm still not entirely sure how I'm going to lay everything out inside, but we're working on it. And in addition to that, this came in the post today. This is a US Marine Armour Accessories kit. So we've got M1 Abrams, Patton tanks, and a couple of other bits and pieces. Yes, we've got the M1 Abrams here. These are the Marine tanks, a couple of trucks, some smaller vehicles, more AAV-7s, some smaller type Bradley vehicles, some big old cannons, and some Humvees. So this is going to bolster up the various bits and pieces involved. But let's have a look at the actual ship next. So here's the New York, and basically all I've done is sort of laid the top deck section on top of the lower, just to give you an idea of how everything's looking. Glued the foredeck down and the sonar bow here. See that? It's a two-piece actually, a bit hard to put together. And a couple of these pieces on the side here, and then lastly the propeller shafts and the two rudders. But if you take the top off, you can see a bit more what's been happening on the inside. So you have three hull support struts which go in, and then this is the fundus. So this is the wet deck, or the well deck here, and on top of that you have the hangar bay for the aircraft. They don't really have many aircraft permanently affixed with the New York. The sort of Marines come and go with various bits of kit, but we're going to stick some in anyway. This all comes up. I haven't glued all of it together yet, so you can see. Get rid of that. Another angle on the well deck. So next I'm going to prime this bad boy and then start painting up the bits and pieces inside. I'm still waiting a few railings which will go along the sides here to come before I can finish everything up and seal it up, but it's looking really good. I'm not sure how well they're coming across on the camera, but they've got various tie down points involved in there. Good. And then onto the hangar deck itself. It's pretty small, there's not a lot inside, but it's quite intricate number of pieces involved, and this will all need to be painted up. So next I'm going to put some primer on this, and then a few other bits and pieces. Well, hi there. It was a nice sunny evening last night, so I managed to do a bit of spraying. I sprayed the aircraft with a base coat of Tamiya Sky Grey just to see if I miss any imperfection. I've given it a light filing. I didn't bother putting any putty on these things. They're so small, I don't think you'd ever really notice. So painted up all the aircraft. I might need to do a couple more, I've decided, as well as the hovercraft, which is really good now, I have to say. And the LCU, sort of the landing craft, is looking really good. It's amazing how much a coat of colour makes to changing one of these things. It's really impressive. Going to struggle to focus. A very small Humvee on the amphibious attack craft, on the small howitzers, and even an M1 Abrams tank. So you can imagine they're really small. Before them sitting on this palm of my hand quite happily, but once they're all painted up, they look pretty impressive. And that wasn't enough, so I thought I'd carry on a little bit more. So if we take the top off here, you can see what else I got up to. I've finished construction on the wet deck and the hangar deck. Sprayed it first with some primer, then a coat of Tamiya Sky Grey, and then finally added the two base colours here. So we've got Native Black, I think it is, and then German Grey. A bit rough and painted because it's going to be really dark in here. You won't be able to see an awful lot. But you can see how it's all starting to come together. So it's these two pieces are now stuck together. It still sort of floats around and wobbles, but it'll eventually be stuck down. And it can give you a bit of an impression of how this thing's going to look when it's all painted up. So yeah, coming along pretty nicely. And as it was such a lovely evening, I thought I'd carry on and do a bit more. So I masked up and spray painted the red hull of the New York. Not really quite sure what's happened, but I managed to get quite an impressive gloss, yet rough textured finish on this. So what I did is, you can see where I masked off. I sprayed it black to start with primer, but it didn't really stick as well as I thought with masking tape. Probably rushed it a bit too long, a bit too much. And then I made a mix of about 2/3 hull red to 1/3 flat red for the base colour of the hull, and then sprayed it in 2 or 3 coats. I think I put too much thinners in it, so what's happened is it's really quite rough, which is quite interesting. Didn't really expect that to happen, and I have to say, nitpickers up there, I completely forgot about filling the bow piece, but there's no real great shame, and I don't think I'll really notice in a few weeks' time anyway, to be honest. But yeah, looking really good. I'm really pleased with the way that's come out. The basic hull assembly was complete, the well deck was installed, and I painted the anti-fouling red hull colour. I was inspired by finishing my Ticonderoga guided missile cruiser recently. I wanted to finish the New York off, and boy am I getting there. After dust coating the hull Tamiya Sky Grey, next came more detailed parts followed by the photo etch. Lots and lots and lots of photo etch. This Platinum Edition kit comes with 3 frets of etch, as well as a metal anchor chain. Here you can see just how much etch has gone into the kit. This took a couple of sittings, but with a little bit of patience it all went down in place okay. Quick question though, do you glue your etch down with super glue or PVA? I'm thinking of trying PVA next time. Let me know any tips and tricks you might have in the comments below. Once dry, I spray the deck and hull sides with the Sky Grey before moving on to 2 darker shades of grey for the deck and the flight deck. I undercoated the aircraft I intend to use for the flight deck with an airbrush. I will next be painting them with Vallejo Model Air Blue Grey. Hopefully it looks something a bit like this. Lastly, I glued the life rafts in place before going around the hull to tidy up any little overspills. So there we have it, progress at last. Next is to finish the last bits of the ship, apply a gloss coat, and then move on to the decals and weathering. After that, finish the air wing as well as building the marine vehicles to include the LCAC, or Landing Craft Air Cushion, or hovercraft, depends what you think of it. Right, it's been a long time coming, but the USS New York LPD-21 is now finished. I've been putting various photos up on my Facebook page, so if you haven't seen that, check it out in the link below so you can see a bit more of the build history. But yeah, it's done now, and I'm really pleased with the way it's come out. So all the last bits of photo I should put on, everything is painted, the detail painting's been sorted, sealed it all up with some semi-gloss varnish, then put on a bit of oil staining with some Citadel Nuln oil and Agrax Earthshade, different types of wash that they call it. But yeah, it's all coming together, and then once that was all dry, put on the last of the decals and then sealed it all up again. So I'm really happy with it. If you give the steady cam, well, not so steady cam, but I'll give you a quick walk around. And then I put on these aircraft, so it's trying to sort of show it's sort of at rest, not quite ready to deploy all the kit, or the ship, sorry. But yeah, you can see the flight decks all got the various decals on and all weathered up, which is good. A couple of small bits to paint here and there on some of the helicopters. It's all pretty much sorted. And then lastly, turn this big thing around. Installed the LCAC or the hovercraft, and I've got a couple of the vehicles on here. Now I know, lots of people have told me already, that the LCAC can only hold one M1 Abrams tank on its own, or several other vehicles, because of the weight of the 60 odd ton tank, but do you know what, it's my model and I can live with it if you can. So I'm really pleased with the way that's come out. And then lastly, obviously, because it's the New York, I wanted to put on a bit of a commemorative, massive Stars and Stripes flag for all the people that lost their lives in 9/11, which the USS New York is famous for. So yeah, really pleased with the way it's turned out. As I say, it's been a long old kit to build, but it's now finished and I'm really pleased with it. So it's onwards and upwards next. I've got a couple of kits in the post coming. I've got a Oliver Hazard Perry coming. I've got a 1:35 scale Cougar from Maine, my first Maine kit, and I've also got the Spoons to finish off. I've got the USS Hopper to finish off, so I've got plenty to keep me busy over the next few weeks. So ultimately this is all leading towards, in terms of ships, towards the Enterprise carrier battle group, which I'd like to get all the ships for and finish this fella off. So yeah, stick around, hope you subscribe if you haven't already, and if you like the video or even like the ship, let me know in the comments below or hit that thumbs up button. Thanks for watching, bye bye.